Hey Ben, stoked you're starting to feel ready to shred again. We're going to go and break down your back one, front one, 50-50s to figure out what we can do to improve these. First thing though, you gotta get off that 195 centimeter board when learning tricks. That's just not going to do you any good. I've watched this video, so I already know the points that I want to focus on. The first one being your takeoff. Notice how you're going and getting really rotated off the takeoff. This does a couple detrimental things. First of all being, and mainly being, it doesn't let you spot where you're going. So on a back one, it's really important to have your spot out in front of you at the knuckle ahead, and then you rotate past it, keeping your eyes on it, and that's what gives you that blind landing. But when you go and rotate early and hunt your back, what happens is your spot becomes out to the side. I'm going to make myself big really quick and show you why this is such a problem. When you're going and crouching and your spot's out to the side, it makes it so it's impossible to look downhill. So when you spot there and rotate it back one, even if you're shifting from a blind landing, you're going to land very heel heavy with your head twisted this way. What happens when you're this is it's going to make you go and continue the rotation because you're not in control. But look at the difference if you go and shift your spot downhill. If your spot shifted downhill, then when you go over it, your eyes start tracking and it hinges your upper body down. That's what lets you put weight onto your toe edge. It also lets you see where you are in the air, give you more control and stability. So that's going to be the biggest thing you need to change, because the rotation on back one's super flexible. You can use counter rotation, you can do it all in one rotation, you can slow it down. It's just such a flexible trick as long as you get that takeoff and spot. So that's what we need to work on here, is your takeoff. You need to stop this pre-spin and pre-spinning with your upper body, because it's going to be impossible to then get the spot. And that's why you're not in control there, flaying around and just not feeling too smooth. We're going to watch it now from the landing angle and go just a little bit deeper into it. So you're coming in. This one you're a bit straighter, chest a little more open, but then you snap really quick. And there's a few things here that happen that are really detrimental. First, you're leaving off of your front foot. We can see that with your board lifting here on your back foot. This means that your weight is set over your front foot as you're leaving off. Every spin should be set over your back foot because it lets you go and utilize your tail of your snowboard, letting you get more height and more control. This feature is probably causing a little bit of a struggle because it has that little bit of metal showing, so that's going to make it so you can't confidently hold an edge, and if you can't ride on an edge, it's going to be a lot harder to keep your form. So find a different feature, or you need to be really concentrated on keeping your board in contact with the snow until you ride off. And then the other thing that's happening here is, even though you're coming in more open, you started rotating closed too soon. So see how your body's completely snapped off and closed before your board's even leaving off the jump? This is rushing your rotation, making it so you can't be patient. It's also putting your head down here, making it so you're spotting the takeoff. Instead, your eye should be over here where you're going to be landing, because you want to be going and spotting at the end of the tail as you land. So by rotating early like that, it's going and doing that problem, and it's going to make you land very heel heavy and slip out. So that's really all you need to focus on right now then, is focus on getting a nice straight takeoff, and then focus on delaying that upper body rotation. I have a video of one of my back ones here, and we're going to look at the differences. This back one isn't perfect by any means. There's quite a bit wrong with it, but there's some principles here that are going to be really important to you to start applying. Sorry, let me just move this out of the way. And we're going to play it slow motion for anyone if they want to try spot and come up with their own theories before I break it down. So we're playing it slow motion, and watch and see if you can notice the difference here. Nice. So this one's pretty subtle. This is a very small jump, and it let me get away with it. I'm honestly not too comfortable with back ones. I just don't do them too often. But I've been putting a lot more work into them this year, and I learned a few of these principles. First, you'll see that my board is sliding off and I'm closing off a little bit. This is not ideal, but it's okay in this instance because look at my head. My eyes are looking forward at the knuckle. So even though I'm closing off and pre-spinning a little bit, my spot isn't going to be affected by it because I'm keeping it subtle enough, and I started with a more open chest position. And with a slower motion, letting me maintain that spot, so then I can hold it on the knuckle. And then you can really see it. See how my eyes are looking forward, and then they shift back with the knuckle. And I'm going to hold that spot until I hit the landing. So then I'm landing looking back at the knuckle here. But imagine if your spot was set back at the takeoff. That'd make it so your head, instead of looking down around your tail, your eyes would be straight uphill, making it so you'd be coming in on your heels, leaning over, and falling. So that's really the most important thing here. The other thing is I'm leaving really nicely off my tail. So even though I'm going and pre-spinning a little bit and popping off early, my line and pressure is still set over my tail. And you can tell because my nose is angled upwards. So having your rotation set over the back foot, keeping your chest more open and staying taller on the takeoff, and then slowing down your snap as your spot stays forward on the knuckle, will let you go and hold that spot for the full duration, letting you see where you are and land on your toes. So work on that. You can work on it in flat ground, just walking on the carpet like I was doing earlier. And it's just something great to get dialed in before the season comes. All right, next let's go and dive into the front side one. Let me just exit back quick. Front ones are actually one of the hardest tricks in snowboarding. It's because they utilize a switch front side landing, what is just unnecessarily difficult. It feels awkward. It doesn't let you finish well with counter rotation without a lot of work, so it ends up being really hard to control. We're going to go and break down your main issues here. First of all, this tube in the takeoff's really messing you up. You can see that you're going and pre-popping and just doing your motion too early. The next thing that I really want you to pay attention to is how long you're holding your upper body open. So your upper body is fully open at this stage in the jump, and then you're holding it as you extend. This means you're not getting any rotational power off the takeoff because your rotation has already been spent and you haven't got anything out of it. So you need to slow down the snap. You don't want to be even in this open up of a position, but if you are going to open up this much, you need to make sure that it's as you're leaving off the jump so you can rely on that momentum and that extension to get you around in the air. Because when you just hold it like this, it's doing something really detrimental for you, and it's making it so you can't continue the rotation with your back arm. So instead of with your back and front arm. So instead of going and continue your rotation as you leave off the lip, your front arm instantly comes back, starts flailing. So to do the 180, you need to make sure that you're going and throwing and then leading the rotation the whole time with your upper body. Even if you're using counter rotation, your upper body needs to be constantly leading the rotation. And when you take off too open like this and then flail, you're not able to continue leading the rotation with your upper body, making it so you just have to do some weird counter rotation thing that's not going to line you up to land in the correct way. So this is just a timing issue that's happening here. Your timing's too early, making it so you're overextended, holding the overextended position, and then not willing to carry that momentum and feel in control in the air. I also think you're also popping and falling a little bit too soon, what's another showing that this feature isn't good. But basically all this landing stuff is happening because you're going and rushing the takeoff and not using your momentum. I have one of my front ones here, and I'm going to just show you a couple of these principles in work. So watch it full speed first, and we'll watch it slow-mo. Sorry. Ooh. Watch it slow-mo. So you can see, doing the full extension like you were doing, but I'm not holding that extension, and my upper body continues rotation, and I pull my shoulder down into the landing. This is so important in front ones because you just won't get them around if your upper body isn't leading the rotation the whole time. So you need to do this. You need to have your weight set more onto your edge, making sure you're leaving off your tail, and as you extend, that's when your upper body finishes rotating. And from there, you don't hold that position, you continue it, continuing letting your upper body pull into a spin and dropping your shoulder into the landing. Because if you go and try to 180 like this, it's going to be hard to control, you're going to be unbalanced. But if you go and do it like this, it's going to be so much more controlled and just feel so much better. So again, you can practice this before getting on snow. Just practice your wind up, heel pressure, snap, pop. Snapping and popping as your momentum continues. You just want it to feel as easy as possible. And once it feels completely easy, you're set. So I want you to go at home, practice your back ones, pick a spot on the floor, rotate past it, pick a spot on the floor, rotate past it. And then for front ones, try to get that fluid motion as you pop up. figure out that timing and make sure you're on your heel edge for those front ones. It's going to really help you. Next, we just have the straighter, and then we're wrapping the 50-50, and we're all donezo. Sorry, this is Shmee still. All right. Woo, sorry, somewhat out of breath there. So you're coming in. Shoop. Ooh, those hurt. So the problem here is a very basic one that isn't going to need much technique change, but instead just a principle change. And the problem you're having here is you're jumping way up over top of the rail. So see how high above the rail you are here? This is causing a couple of detrimental things. First of all, it's causing you to go and overextend your body, making it so you don't have that balance and you don't have any room to make micro adjustments. The other thing it's doing is it's making it so you're coming in with a lot more impact. So you're slamming down, and because you weren't able to catch the rail because your legs were already fully extended and you should bring them back down, it's making it so you don't have any ability to balance, making it so your fall is way more significantly painful and you don't have your board as a shield. So what you need to do for this is, instead of trying to go and jump all the way onto the rail, instead, notice that this rail isn't that high. If you just go and lift up your nose, you'd actually be there. So see right here, your nose is already high enough to get you on the rail. So that's all the pop you need to do. Especially if you delayed it and actually did this off a takeoff, that's enough. So think about how you can go and get yourself to not over pop. Don't bend down this far, instead use more of a coast. Coast yourself onto this rail, and that's going to give your legs more room to adjust, letting you get into the 50-50 a lot better, with a lot more range of motion and energy left in your legs to rebalance. Because when you fully jump on full extension, it's going to throw you off, and it's not going to give you the room to make any micro adjustments in the air, because all of your energy is gone to going up. So for these 50-50s, I just want you to think about the different techniques you can use to get onto that rail with as little pop as possible. Because that's the key to getting these good rails. It's getting on there just feather light. You don't want to feel any impact getting onto a rail like this, especially a flat rail. Just get on, little as air as possible, flat while staying completely stacked. Here, you can see that your weight is set over your heels, resulting in a slam. The bigger the impact, the more it's going to punish you for having your weight off balanced. If that was just a little light coast on, then you just would have slipped off and your momentum would have carried, but because you're slamming down, it just punishes you extreme. So there's a lot to work on here, and there's a lot of season that's going to be coming our way. So work on those things, think about the 50-50, and let me know if you need any more help.